Did you know that I was $150,000 in debt when I started my Amazon business back in 2015? Now, did you also know that it would take me over 15 years to clear my debt had I relied on the income that I was generating, driving for Uber and washing dishes? Well, how did I go from 150K in debt 9 years ago, needing to take about 15 years just to clear my debt, to 8 years later, 9 years later, having generated over $35 million online? Well, that is by the power of this thing that they don't teach us in college, OPM, other people's money. I leveraged other people's finances to help grow my wealth. All the Fortune 500 companies out there do it. All the multi-billion-dollar companies out there do it. All the wealthy, the 1% out there does it. But they don't teach us this stuff in school because they don't want us to be part of the 1%. They want you and I to be workers, to help society, and to make other people rich and to serve other people, but never for our own good. What you're going to learn here in this class, that I'm going to share with you exactly how I was able to utilize OPM and how you can also utilize OPM, regardless how much money there is in your bank account, regardless what's coming into your bank account every month, and regardless of your circumstances. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's dive right in. Now, with that said, I want to jump right in here. And I want to, get a few things out to you. So the first thing is, how many here know my story? How many here know how I got started? How many here know what happened in my life on April 28th in 2015? If you do, drop it in the chat. I'm going to give you a couple seconds here. I want to see if you guys have been studying up on who this mustache guy is. Okay, Sebastian Restaurant. Yep, Restaurant Fire. Okay, there we go. All right, love it. Your business caught on fire. That's right. Okay, so you've been studying up on me. That's awesome. Well, April 28th, 2015, I got, at the time, what seemed like the worst phone call of my life. And that phone call was, "Hey, boss, the kitchen is on fire." All right, well, put it out. How bad is it? "No, boss, you don't understand. Everyone's outside and the fire department is here. You have to come back." By the time I went back to my restaurant, I saw about half a dozen different fire engines outside, smoke coming out of the restaurant, and our kitchen completely destroyed. And the worst part, I did not have insurance to cover all of these damages. Well, you see, after about 2.5 years of running a business without knowing what the heck I was doing, I incurred a whole bunch of debt from from different food purveyors, different people that I was working with. I had a whole bunch of debt. And I had one source of income that really wasn't producing any profits, but it was a source of income, right? And my hope was that over the next 6, 12, 24 months, it would finally start turning profits. So I was kind of investing in the future. Well, that future got cut off, and I had literally nothing else left. So I woke up one day at 25, realizing that I had no business, no source of income. I was $150,000 in debt. I had disappointed parents who wouldn't even look me in the eyes. And also, I had met someone about 8 months prior who I truly loved. And I felt like I was going to, and I would end up with her and spend the rest of my life with. But I knew at that trajectory, I wouldn't be able to afford to give her the kind of life that she truly deserved. And so what I did is I got 2 jobs to pay the bills, because I still had to pay the bills and I still had to pay different people. I had employees that I needed to pay and I had no money in the bank. I started washing dishes at Hilton Hotel and I started driving for Uber. But I realized that those 2 jobs weren't going to get me out of the rut that I was in. It would take me 15 years. It would take me 15 years just to clear my debt. But I knew that my only way out was owning my own business, being an entrepreneur. being my own boss. That was my only way out. However, what I also realized is that any business requires anywhere between $5,000 to $15,000. Although my restaurant business really required about $250,000. But I knew that now I was aware that there were other opportunities for me to make money where I can actually make money with about $5,000 to $15,000. But I was $150,000 in debt. $150,000 in debt. And if I just relied on my two jobs, it would take me 15 years to just clear this debt, let alone save up another $5,000 to $15,000 to start investing. So it would literally take me about 16, 17 years if I just depended on the sources of income that were coming into my life. So now that you know this, now that you know in April 2015, literally about 8.5 years ago, I was $150,000 in debt, and it would take me about 15 years just to clear my debt. So now that you know that, you're probably wondering, then how did you go from that to clearing your debt, living on the beach in Miami, Florida, driving a $400,000 car, and being able to live life on your own terms? How did you do this? That's because of the concept that I'm going to be teaching you today. It's because of the one concept that is responsible for everything that you're seeing right now. And that is what we're going to spend today on. So if you walk away at the end of today knowing this one concept that can literally help you launch your dream business that can make you $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month in revenue every single month, regardless how much money you have in the bank. If you walk away knowing what that concept is, would that be a successful 90 minutes? If so, drop yes in the chat. Okay? But because we underpromise and overdeliver, I will give you at least another 3 to 5 more things at the end of today. So, how did I come across this concept, you might be asking? Well, who here know who Robert Kiyosaki is? If you know him, drop Robert in the chat. Well, I was cruising on the internet and I came across this concept or this post by Robert Kiyosaki. And Robert said, don't say I can't afford it. Ask, how can I afford it? Ask, how can I afford it? Okay, so how can I afford it is what he said. All right, well, that makes sense. So I started asking the question, how can I afford it? How can I afford it? How can I afford it? As I was going through my research, I came across a video by a guy named Grant Cardone, and he was talking about this concept called OPM. OPM. Who here knows what OPM stands for? If you know what OPM stands for, drop it in the chat for me. You see, what I realized is that at first it seemed like a foreign concept. It seemed like it was something that I had never heard of in my life. But as I started studying up on OPM, because Grant Cardone also was broke living in Louisiana as a child who was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and OPM actually has helped Grant Cardone now worth over $1 billion. In fact, he has over $5 billion in assets. Real estate, education companies, all kinds of different companies. And he started with a single concept of OPM about 40 years ago. And I started with the concept of OPM about 8 years ago. So I'm going to be teaching you how we utilized OPM to absolutely transform our lives and how you can too. So OPM, it's other people's money. That's pretty much what it stands for. It's where you leverage other people's money to launch a business, to scale your business, to start a new business, to do whatever it is that you want. But you see, what I realized that we had been utilizing OPM all of our lives, but the wrong way, not the right way. However, when Grant Cardone started talking about OPM, in my mind, I could only hear my dad And my dad was saying, since I was a little child, he always told me, never borrow money from people, never partner up with people. How many here have had parents or siblings or aunts, uncles, or someone that has an influence in your life tell you to never borrow money from people, never partner up with people, never take out debt, never accumulate debt? How many here have been taught to be debt free? Drop me in the chat, okay? Well, I was also told the same thing. And the problem was that the reference or the influence that was into my life was actually a successful influence. So my father was a successful entrepreneur back home in Iraq up until about 2000s, where the war in Iraq happened and he lost everything and he had to flee Iraq. So when someone successful is telling you, don't do something, you're going to listen to them. Naturally, you want to listen to them, right? So I felt stuck. I'm $150,000 in debt. The only job that I had, the only two jobs that I have will literally take me about a year and a half, 15 years just to clear my debt. And then my father's telling me, don't utilize OPM, which is the same concept that helped someone like Grant Cardone become a billionaire. So I'm like, okay, well, who do I listen to, Grant Cardone or my father? Well, my father is the reason why I became an entrepreneur. And he's got a great influence on me. I admire him a ton. And he was at some point successful. But then Grant Cardone here, he's a lot more successful than my father in business. He is a billionaire and he's still successful, right? My dad was successful. This guy is still successful and he continues to, I follow him and he continues to become more successful as time goes on. So that's when I had to make a decision to what is best for me. And I had to pick and choose. Do I listen to my father or do I listen to Grant Cardone? So what I decided to do is I decided to listen to Grant Cardone. And let me tell you, my life has never been the same. So what I realized very quickly is that for 25 years of my life, because I was 25 years at the time, 25 years old at the time, for 25 years of my life, I had been utilizing OPM, just the wrong way of utilizing OPM, okay? I had been utilizing OPM just the wrong way. And you might be saying, but what does that mean? Well, let me ask you a question. How many here have a credit card or know someone who has a credit card? How many here have a credit card or know someone who has not a debit card, but a credit card? If you know someone who has a credit card or you have a credit card, then drop credit card in the chat. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. A credit card is a form of OPM. When you use a credit card, let's say you have $1,000 in your credit card, it's a form of OPM, right? Because you're using the bank's money to buy things, to go on vacations, to buy the new iPhone, to hopefully buy products for your Amazon business, to whatever else, right? That is OPM. All my life, I had been utilizing OPM the wrong way because I had credit cards, because I have borrowed money from friends, because I have done all these things, but I was using them the wrong way. Why? Because I was going shopping. Because I was going on vacations. Because I was going out. This is the wrong way of OPM. The right way of OPM is investing. Investing in, by the way, you should be taking notes. This is stuff you should be writing down. Investing in knowledge. So buying books, buying courses, whatever it is. Investing in business. Business, right? Okay? Investing in your future, right? Whatever that means for you, right? And if you want to have a metric that gives you big differentiator because you're like, okay, but I get that, but I have a loan, I have a mortgage on my house. I took out a mortgage to buy a house. So is that the right way or is that the wrong way of OPM? Because let's say a house is worth $100,000 and you go and in the US, I'm not sure how it is in other countries. In the US, you're only required to put anywhere between 15 to 25%, depends on your credit and the limit and all that stuff. Let's just say you buy a house for 100, you put 25,000 down. The 75,000, you're borrowing it from the bank. So that's a form of OPM. So you might be asking, but is that the right way or the wrong way? It depends who you ask. If you were to ask me, I would say if you are struggling to make ends meet, if you have a job you hate, if you are not secure financially or want to be better off financially, then a home is the wrong way of using OPM, because I would rather use that money to invest in a business that produces me cash flow, and then I can take that cash flow and invest it in the home, right? So if you want to see what is the differentiator between the right way and the wrong way, this one, let's see if you guys can see it. Cash flow positive. Okay, this is cash flow positive. This is cash flow negative. Now you might say, what does that mean? How does that, how does this apply to what we're teaching here? Cash flow positive means if I put in $1,000 today, I expect to earn at least my $1,000 back, preferably 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. Knowledge will do that for you. If you invest in a book, you're going to hopefully learn something that you'll apply in your business, in your life, and whatever, that's going to cash flow positive. If you invest in your business, say you buy stock for your Amazon product, hopefully, regularly, normally, on average, when we invest $1,000 into our Amazon business, we expect to generate at least $3,000 in returns. So that's positive. In your future, right? Whatever that means, maybe it's in your health, maybe it's in your relationships, maybe it's in your finances. There's an ROI. There's a return on investment, okay? That is cash flow positive. That is the right way of using OPM. The wrong way of using OPM, when it's cash flow negative, meaning when I go shopping, when I spend $1,000 on a Gucci purse, that Gucci purse is only going to decline in value. It's not going to produce anything unless you are a hustler, you are a flipper, and you buy something here. I know that I have my personal trainer, actually, he will buy unique Jordan shoes that, only get dropped every so many years and only have so many shoes that get dropped. Say he buys them for 500 and 2 years later, he can sell them for 750 or 800. So he gets to wear the same shoes for a year, 2 years, and sell them for a profit. That's different. But the 99.9% of us are going shopping and it's losing value. When you go on vacations, yes, you are gaining experience, but if you're struggling financially, is it really time for a vacation? It's not. I didn't even go on a honeymoon. We got married. We didn't even go on a honeymoon. We went to our honeymoon a year later. I say we went to a honeymoon a year later. My wife would say, no, honey, we didn't go on a honeymoon. We just went on a 1-year anniversary. We took a trip for our 1-year anniversary. I'm losing my voice already. Holy moly. So going out, you're going to go and spend $30, $40, $50, $100, $150, depending on where you go. Yes, you are gaining an experience, but that experience, that money you're paying out, it's not, you don't have anything coming in. And again, if you're financially secure, all these things are okay. I'm not saying these things are bad. I'm saying that to use OPM to do these things is bad. I'm saying that if you are struggling financially, these things are bad. But if you have a business that's producing cash flow, if you are cash flow positive, if your finances are good, if your bank account is increasing and you enjoy what you do, then yes, go out and knock yourself out and do these things. Until then, you should limit your expenses and invest all in here, cash flow positive. So that is the difference between the right way of using OPM and the wrong way. And for 25 years, I was using OPM the wrong way until I came across that video and I learned the difference. Okay. Now, what are pros and cons of OPM, you might be asking, because anything that you do, regardless what it is, okay, there's always positives, there's always negatives. Do you agree? If you agree, drop agree in the chat, okay? So what are the positives and what are the negatives of OPM? Well, pros of OPM is that you can start faster. You can scale further. Okay? You can start faster and you can scale further. Okay? The cons of OPM is that you get to give a piece of your business. So you get to give up piece of your biz. Okay? So you get to give up a piece of your biz, right? So for example, when I first started selling on Amazon, I needed money because I was $150,000 in debt. Now I could have waited 15 years and then started 7 years from now, or I utilized OPM, and in half of the time, not only did I clear my debt, I have been able to generate over $30 million online, right? That's because I started with OPM and I was able to scale a lot further. And I'll be sharing with you guys, Darren and I will be interviewing a couple of people who have utilized OPM and how OPM has been able to absolutely transform their lives. In fact, one of them has made nearly $2 million with none of her own money. She has invested zero of her own money into her Amazon business. And in the last few years alone, her Amazon business has generated nearly $2 million. You will meet her here in just a few minutes, okay? Cons, again, when I went and borrowed $7,000 from my girlfriend's mom, who's now my mother-in-law, I had to pay her interest. And we'll talk about that here in momentarily. I had to pay her interest. I borrowed $10,000. And then after 12 months, actually 14 months, I returned $7,700. I paid her 10% interest, right? Also, when I went to get more OPM, I had to give a piece of my business. For example, the person that we will be interviewing who's generated nearly $2 million, she had to give up about 40% of her business, right? But would you rather have 100% of a pie that's this big, say that has made $100,000, or would you rather have a slice of a pie that's this big that has made $1.8 million? $1.8 million in the case of who I will introduce to you in a little bit. Think about it. 100% of 100,000 is 100,000. I'm terrible at math, so I'm going to have to pull up my calendar, and this is embarrassing, but hey, here we are. 1.8 million, multiply that by 0.60, so she has generated $1.08 million, almost 11 times. So although, think about this, although she gave up 40% of her business, so here she only owns 60%, although she only owns 60% of her business, her 60% is 11 times more than if someone were to do it by themselves. And by the way, $100,000, I'm being very generous. Not many people get to $100,000 by themselves, unless if you have, decent amount of capital, or it takes you a few years to get there, right? But even if you got there in, say, 2 years by yourself, in 2 years, you would have generated 100,000, or in 2 years, you could have generated $1.08 million, nearly 11 times, even though she gave up 40% of her business. Now, let me ask you a question. Would you rather have A or B? Which one would you rather have? Which scenario would you rather have? Scenario A or scenario B? And that's fine. If you want scenario B, no harm, no harm, no foul, no judgments, nothing. If that's what you want, great. But if you'd rather have only 60% and make $1 million, again, your 60% is $1 million, not the whole thing is $1 million. Your 60% is $1 million. Let me know in the chat. I'm going to see some Okay, so there's a couple B's in there, and that's okay. That's okay. But majority says, hey, okay. Victor, Justin, Ryan, Salam. All right. Bo. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, this is that, right? This is that. Now, let me ask you another question. You might be saying, okay, well, this sounds great. This sounds great. This sounds dandy. This sounds cool and all that stuff. But where do I go to find money? I mean, who the hell is going to give me money to start my business, to invest in my business? Well, here's a stat for you. Write this down. 334. Oh my God, I'm going to do this again. I did it last time and I lost it. Okay. I don't know. Tell me when to stop. I think I got it. I think I got it. $334 trillion. This is dollars. $334 trillion is in circulation at any given time. 334. Let me say that one more time. 334 trillion. I might be missing another couple rows of zeros. 334 trillion dollars is in circulation at any given time. Okay. And there are a new stat came out. I think like a few weeks ago. There is 8 billion. I think this is billion. I think. I don't know. I might be missing another one. There is 8 billion people on planet Earth and $334 trillion in circulation. So you put everyone's wealth together, all these 8 billion people, they will make $334 trillion. Let me ask you a question. Do you really not believe they can find 1 to 2 people, 1 to 2 out of 8 billion that you can raise between, let's just say, 10 to 25K from? 1 to 2 people out of 8 billion human beings on planet Earth that can give you between 10K to 25K to start your business. I've done it. I will show you 2 people today that have done it. In fact, one of them technically lives in a developing country, in a T3 country, right? And she was able, with very limited experience, really life experience, no business background, no managerial experience, nothing really, was able to raise more than $25,000 to start and scale her Amazon business. Because she understood that there is over $334 trillion and 8 billion people have that money. All she needed is a couple of people that can give her between 10 to 25,000, so that way she can start and scale her Amazon business. Okay? If she can do it, I know you can do it too. I've done it. Grant Cardone has done it, and he's become a billionaire over time. I'm not telling you you're going to become a billionaire. I'm not even telling you you're going to become a millionaire. Heck, I'm not even telling you you're going to make any money. But what I'm telling you is you have a heck of a lot more chance with a bigger pool of money to launch and scale a more successful business than if you only dependent on $2,000, $3,000 or whatever, $500 or whatever of your own resources. Because again, you don't want to say, I can't afford it. You want to ask, how can I afford it? And when you ask the right questions, the right answers start coming to you. Now, you might be, your brain is probably looking at this and going, hang on a second. Not only have I never started a business, and you want me to start a business, that's already like, borderline crazy. Now you want me to go ask people for money? Are you out of your goddamn mind? Your brain is probably having freaking out right now. But let's go back to yesterday. Your brain is thousands of years old, and its job is not to make you happy, not to make you successful. That's your job. What's the number one job for your brain? Drop it in the chat for me. What is the number one job for your brain? Drop it in the chat for me. Exactly. Protect us. Keep us safe. Yes, that's right. Califo, yes. Justin, that's right. Tiffany, that is correct. Safety, exactly. That is what your brain's number one job is. It's not to make you happy. It's not to make you successful. That's your job. But do understand, your brain is not your enemy. These crazy, what seem to you crazy sounds that are happening in there, those, my friend, are not working in your disadvantage. That's not your enemy in there. That is your best friend. That's your best bro. And you want to learn how to become friends with it, because there will come a time where you need that thing to be in flight or flight mode, right? You need that thing to be active, but you don't want it to be active all the time. In fact, an experience happened to me yesterday, and I was talking to my therapist earlier today, and she said, you should have shared it. As I was sharing with you guys yesterday towards the end, how many here remember my light started going down, which it'll probably happen here in about 30 minutes. You know, I'm working off of natural sunlight, and it's getting a little late here. So my lighting was going down. You know, I've been fasting. So I intermediate fast, and I'm fasting for about 24 hours. I was fasting. I was kind of feeling dizzy. My blood sugar dropped. And as I was talking to you guys yesterday and actually talking about this brain thing, I started feeling wobbly. I started feeling dizzy. I kind of started standing like this, 1 foot forward, 1 foot backward. And I maybe even if you go back, or if you remember, I was even starting to kind of space out for a minute and starting to, like, you know, stutter or lose my words. That's because I started feeling a little dizzy, and my brain immediately jumped in and was like, whoa, man, what's happening right now? Oh my God, you need to deliver. You have all this stuff that you still have to cover. We're still not done. Your lights are going out. What's going on? What are you going to do? What are people going to think? People are going to start leaving. And I started having all this chatter in my brain. But because I know I've done this practice before, it took about 2-3 minutes for me to recalibrate. And that's why you saw me kind of go offline and Darren take over for a minute, because I had to recalibrate and say, hey, I've got this covered. I got recentered again, and I said, hey, I appreciate you, brain. Thank you very much for being there for me. I'm all good. I'm all safe. I'm in my home. Everything's okay. They love me out there. I believe I'm over-delivering, so they will, you know, not care about whether the light is a little dim. You know, we're still doing our best. And I recalibrated, and I came back. Well, the same thing here. When you start hearing all this stuff, all this chatter happening in your brain, that's when you step in and you say, hey, thank you. I appreciate you for looking out for me, but I've got this covered. I have a team. I've got a community. I've got people. I have Bashar to reach out to. I've got BJK University. They're going to be surrounding me. They're going to hold me by the hand. They're going to be there for me every step of the way. I'm going to have coaches. I'm going to have, you know, webinars to jump on. I have this person. I have that person. I have all these people that have done this before. I'm not the first. It's not like I'm trying to go to the moon. People, thousands, millions of people around the world have done this. I got this. And remember what I said yesterday. Once you can press and go forward and really get this thing done once, then now you have a reference point you can come back to in the future. Every time your brain jumps in and freaks out, you can come back and say, hey, remember that one time when you freaked out about this and we were able to go over it. So we did it last time. I know we can do it this time. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, drop the number 1 in the chat. If that resonates, drop the number 1 in the chat. And if you got questions, great. As Darren mentioned, we're going to answer your questions here in about 30 minutes or so. So make sure that you guys are sticking around. Okay. Now, so you might be asking, okay, well, cool. I need about 10 to 25,000. There's 34 trillion. Okay, there's plenty of money. There's plenty of people. I just need 1 to 2 people. Okay, but still, who, how, right? Well, first question, first thing that you do, number 1. Question number 1, write this down. Who do I know? Who do I know has X dollars, right? Let's just say 15K, just for ease of numbers. Who do I know has $15? Now, your brain immediately is going to jump into, But Johnny, my brother-in-law has it, but Johnny, dude, he hates my guts. I mean, when I was, when we were dating, me and my wife, I mean, holy shit, I mean, the guy just hated my guts. But and I don't think he ever came. I mean, although we've been married for like 10 years, I don't think he ever, came around. But Johnny, no, Johnny is a no. Elizabeth, man, she's a bitch. I mean, she's a total bitch. She's got the money, but I don't think she'll do it. That's your brain trying to make excuses. That's your brain trying to protect you. That's question number 2. Question number 1 is, who has the money? That's it. Stop right there. Who has the money? This could be Johnny. This could be Bank of America. This could be Chase Bank. This could be, Bashar. This could be Justin Bieber. This could be Snoop Dogg. This could literally be anyone. I know, 20 people that have $15,000. How many here know of 15 people who have $15,000? They could be literally celebrities that you follow on Instagram. They could literally be your favorite artist. They could literally be your favorite, chef, your favorite entrepreneur. This could literally be anyone and everyone. It doesn't matter whether they will give you the money or not. It just matters that 20 people, because you want to prove to your brain. This is what, remember yesterday we talked about. It's 20% skill, but it's 80% what? What is it, 80%? Drop it in the chat for me. 80% what? Mindset. Yes, that's right. Trista, absolutely. Jamie, mindset. Melissa, yes. It's 80% mindset. So we want to prove to our brains that we know our stuff. So first you start with a list of 20 people. Who are the 20 people who I know that have $15,000? That's the first question, okay? Second question, who of the 20 people, write this down, of the 20 will give me whatever the number is? Let's just say 15K. And this is where you start asking the question, who of the 20 will actually give me money? And this is where your list will shrink. It'll maybe go down to 15, to 10, maybe to 5, right? So whoever those are, you circle them on that 20-person list, and then now you have it. So maybe Snoop Dogg goes out of the picture, but your boss Bob stays on there, because it's like, okay, well, maybe I can ask him for a loan. Okay. So that's the second question. Third question, write this down. Third question. What am I willing to offer? What am I willing to offer? What am I willing to offer? Okay. Because you can come up to me and ask me for money. I have it. But it's like, well, what's in it for me? You have to build a win-win situation. You're winning because they're giving you money. You're starting something without any of your own money, but they also have to win, right? So what am I willing to offer? Well, there are 2 different things that you can offer. And I can teach you about these 2 things because I have done both of them. The first one, I call it borrowing. Write it down. The second one is partnering, okay? Borrowing, partnering. I started here. So I borrowed $7,000 from my girlfriend's mom, who's now my mother-in-law, to launch my first 3 Amazon products, which absolutely failed. You don't want to do that. And I'll tell you how to make sure that the money you raise actually doesn't go to waste, because I've done it. And that's why you're here. You're learning from my mistakes, because a smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from other people's mistakes. Let me say that one more time. Can I have someone write it in the chat for me? A smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from other people's mistakes. Okay? And that's what you're doing, is you're learning from my mistakes. So I borrowed $7,000. So this is called, what is this called? This is called loan amount. Loan amount. Okay, you want to write this down. Loan amount. In your case, this will be $15,000. So this would be $15,000. 15,000. Okay. Secondly, I paid 10% interest. So 10% usually is interest. This is negotiable. You can pay, banks right now lend at like, I think 7% or something like that. This is called interest. Interest rate. Okay. The third thing you have to know, third thing is I took the money out for 12 months. So 12 months, this is the length. So the length of how long you want the money for. So three things when it comes to borrowing: the amount, which is loan amount, 10%, which is a percentage, which is interest rate, and the length, 12 months. All this is negotiable. Hey, give me 15 for 7 and I want it for 24 months. Give me 25 for 6 and I want it for 6 months. Give me 10 for 8% and I want it for 6 months. It doesn't matter. All this is negotiable. It depends on your situation. It depends on how much money you want, how much they're willing to give, whatever. Okay. The second one is partnering. This is for, first thing you have to know is, let's just say 15,000 again. 15,000. This is investment. The second thing you have to know is, let's just say 25. Let's say 25%. This is stake, or I guess you could say stake. I think that's how you say stake, or it's not interest. I guess you could call it stake, right? Or stock. It's not stock, it's stake. So how much money you need, and then secondly, how much percentage you're willing to give that person. So for example, in the case of one of the people that I'm going to interview here in a moment, the interest was 40%, but then this amount was a lot higher, right? They required a lot more from the investor for them to be able to scale their business, right? When you're starting, I would start low. So I would try to increase this as much as possible, and I would try to decrease this as much as possible. Same thing here. I would try to increase this as much as possible. I would try to decrease this as much as possible, and then I would try to increase this as much as possible. Okay? Make sure that you guys are taking these notes and you're writing these down. Now, you might be asking, what are the pros and cons in either of these two scenarios? Pros here, pro, con. Pro is that you don't give up a percentage of your business. So you retain 100% of your business. Okay? Con, however, debt. If your business doesn't work out, for example, I launched 3 products with $7,000 and they all failed. Okay? I still was on the hook for that $7,000. I still had to give it back. And I'll share with you in a moment how to avoid losing the money, how to make sure that you always win. Okay? In this situation, you want to write this down. So pro here, con. Pro here is that the debt, so this is debt responsible. So you're responsible. So this is not responsible, not debt. Meaning, if your business fails, the investor understands that their money goes away. If I come and give you 15,000 and we go to business together and you give me 40% of your business, and then in 12 months, the business loses everything, my money goes to zero as well. The con is that you have to give up percentage of your business, right? So in this case, it's 25% or whatever. Either or works. Either or works. You can do either or. Sometimes you would approach someone with this, but they want this. Sometimes you approach someone with this, but they want this. It all depends on the it all depends on the person that you're trying to raise money from. Man, I am losing my voice. Still got a whole day. It all depends on the person you're raising money from, what they want, what their long-term vision is, what it is exactly they're trying to accomplish, and so on. But both of those work, and you utilize both. I have utilized both. Right now, I only go to business. So I have about 4 or 5 businesses right now that I am partners in here. I rarely do this. I do this like short-term loans If someone wants a short-term loan, I'll do it. But I only go in business with people where I give them money and I take stake in their business, because as an investor long-term, this is better because I get a share of the upside, where here I don't. I just make my percentage, right? So this is kind of some things that you have to kind of think about as you go through this and realize what is best for you. Now, if you are like me, you probably took a bunch of notes, because every time I learn something new, I take a whole bunch of notes. But most importantly, what are you going to do with these notes? Are you actually going to go and make it happen? Are you going to pick up the phone and call some investors and pitch them to invest in your next big idea? And hopefully that is selling on Amazon. Now, here's a question that I have for you. Are you ready to take the next step to financial freedom? Are you ready to making this year your best year yet? If you are, do me a favor, click the button below and book your free strategy session with one of our enrollment advisors who will walk you through exactly how you can get started on Amazon today, because now you realize that finances are not an issue. Regardless how much money you have in the bank, regardless how much money this business requires, you know that there is $334 trillion in circulation at any given moment, and you can tap into that. So book that call. Let us help you. Let us show you what we can do for you. And look, no hard feelings, no pressure, none of that. We will give you a strategy, whether we can help you or whether or not. At least you can come out of that call with a brand new way at looking at life and how to accomplish your goals in this year. But click that button, go book that call, and I'll see you on the other side.